And so we have many, many pieces of this in evidence, but it's not allegorical grief like we saw with that other female, and she's dressed in a neoclassical dress. And here we've got a man in his breeches, we've got his frock coat, his hair's curled, and we saw another representation of that when we saw the two couple where he was denying her advances. And here he's just a sad human being. He's still holding his kerchief, and he's next to the very elaborate urn. But here we've got genuine sadness. And this is how people started to represent themselves. We've got artists who could tailor these pieces. So many, many samplers were taken by traveling miniaturists, and they could go internationally, and you could get a piece like this tailored for you. You could actually have this pre-designed. So you could have the urn, the willow, and the plinth designed, and then the gentleman could be painted in. Or more generally, there were words around the ring or the brooch or the bracelet clasp where they could be tailored in too. So produced more at volume and at low cost. And of course, we've got to thank all of those art societies that are popping up to train these people to create these beautiful pieces, and those upper classes who can afford to wear them. They were reappropriated, and if a jewel of life is given out as a jewel of death, they could be used for both, because a ring that was made for the use of someone's love could be turned into a mourning piece, just the same way that if someone had a wedding ring and someone had died, well, that wedding ring can effectively become a mourning ring. And this particular piece has every element of neoclassical love perfection. We've got the two lovebirds, we've got the unbroken column, we've got the wreath, and we've got the cherub about to anoint the relationship, their love. Yet it has black enamel around it and white enamel, and on the reverse is actually the date of somebody's death. So possibly given as betrothal, but reappropriated, because why should a jewel that's there to represent love between two people ever represent anything but that love? Because grief is still love. And it developed into the excessive. So those wonderful artists who were developing during the 1780s got to have commission work done by the upper class, and the upper classes could commission very expensive pieces like this, which could be worn in those parlors and those places of gathering. So this not generally worn as anything, but really carried in a compact, but if at a parlor, could be presented on the chest, but it is quite heavy. Yet you didn't walk around with this on your day-to-day at all. Generally kept in a velvet compact, and that's something you could carry with you, you could look down on, and it stirs up those memories. Here we've got the child going off into the heavens. It says Resurgam on the column there, which is all in high relief in different elements of ivory. And we've got the lady wearing her mourning dress with the cypress in the background, pointing towards the heavens, and the weeping willow. That's actually painted on the glass. A gorgeous thing with hair on the reverse. But we can't talk about the 1780s without a little bit of a talk about everyone's favorite topic, which is those wonderful eyes, the miniature eyes, the lover's eyes, the Georgian eyes, as they're sometimes called. And really that comes down to 1785. And that's where we've got the Prince of Wales. So he was very much in love with Maria Fitzherbert, a Catholic widow. And they actually got married in 1785 on the 15th of December, but it was invalidated by George III and the Privy Council as it was not approved by them. And that's where, especially to stop a Catholic once again coming back into the throne, marriages had to be regulated by the sovereign and also the Privy Council. And he wore this, not this particular piece, this is mine, he wore his for Maria Fitzherbert until the day he died. So that was the Prince of Wales, a person who was challenging Parliament and politics in the 1780s. He was rebelling against his father wherever he could. He was granted quite a lot of money, £50,000 yearly income from George III. And it was just really exemplifying a lot of that feeling of the time from the younger crowd who were just making so much money or inheriting so much money that they were creating all sorts of things like restaurants and culture around dining and publications and education through the variability that people could have a lifestyle by being a writer. And so they could produce books, and those books could make money, and people read those things. And that created different cultural thought. And that really has so much value in being the humanist movement of representation and going right back into classicism and saying that I am part of classical culture. I'm influenced through classical culture. I'm influenced by people who have traveled, and I travel, I can travel. I've got money too, and I'm learning more than I ever have before, and maybe even more than other people. So it's a wonderful change in society, but it also was fraught with a lot of danger at the same time. Yet the British Empire was still quite high and proud of its nationalism.